It has been way too long in the making. This has been one of the most asked for videos in my channel's recent history, and so, you know, it's finally here. This is my second attempt at making this video. You know, I tried doing this video the first time and I just felt like I wasn't really in the right mind state to really listen to this album and give it the dissection and the commentary that it deserves. And so, you know, this is my second try. Hopefully this is the one that makes it onto YouTube, and hopefully this is the one that gives you guys what you've been asking for so long. So, you know, of course, you already know we're going to be listening to Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, which I believe to be probably the second best album of this decade, after My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And I know that a lot of people have those two, you know, interchangeably at the 1 and 2 spots, and that's totally okay. You know, I'd agree that any one of these definitely deserves the top spot. I just personally really love My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. So this album, man, look, I'm gonna give it my best shot. I'm not a super expert on this thing. I haven't given this hundreds of listens. I'm gonna do my best to break down not only the production but the symbolism and the messages in the tracks. But if you feel like I'm missing anything, be sure to leave a comment in the comment section and give all your theories and give everything that you understand about this project in the comment section. That'd be a really cool way to have a really dope conversation about this project, because honestly there's just so much to talk about. So yeah, you know, I don't want to waste too much time in this introduction because, like I said, there's a lot to talk about and I want to get into this already. But before we do that, if you make music, hit me up on my Instagram. I would love to talk to you about getting you a reaction video or a review or, you know, something like that. And there is another episode of Putting Y'all On coming very soon, so you can be sure to send links to your music, and I would love to listen to them and consider putting them in a video. So with that being said, let's just get right into this. To Pimp a Butterfly, the first track is Wesleys Theory. Let's get it. I love this little introduction, man. This is so funky, man. Butterfly, at first I did love you. Horns, keys, bells, trumpets. It's so dope.
Motherfucker, you can live at the mall.
So in this track, basically Kendrick Lamar is telling us what he's going to do when he gets signed. One of the main portions of the track is we should have never gave N-words money. You know, this is Uncle Sam, the United States, talking about making black people rich. Why? Because, and then Kendrick tells us, when he gets signed, he's going to act a fool. He's going to spend all his money on a bunch of stupid things, and he's going to buy guns, and he's going to buy cars, and he's going to just act out with all his money. And basically, this is just him kind of like excited about getting signed, because we saw that at the end of Good Kid, Mad City, he got that phone call from his mom saying that Top Dog wanted to meet with him and sign him. And so this is him saying, when I get signed, I'm going to act a fool, and I'm going to do all this with my money, and I'm just going to do everything that I want to. I'm going to act out. I'm going to misbehave. And then we see, you know, the United States saying we should have never gave them money. And at the outro, we see Taxman coming. So, you know, this is going to start a story about well, one of the subjects is the plight of the black man in America, the plight of the black man who becomes rich in America, paying taxes, dealing with women, you know, just a bunch of different things are going to be touched on in this project. And this is kind of just that introduction. So I feel like this is really well executed. Production-wise, you know, the little bells, the horns, that really groovy, wavy bass line. It just, that bouncy, funky drum pattern just gets everybody moving. So, you know, I mean, the funk to this track is just absolutely great. The next track is For Free, touching on the outro that said the Taxman is coming. So, you know, let's get that. Let's listen to this. The standing bass. The drums are great.
This dick ain't free. Living in captivity, raise my cap salary, telling me green is up. This dick ain't free. I need 40 acres in a mule, not a 40 ounce in a pit bull. Bullshit. Picture, more picture, your picture, my consensus. Been relentless. Fuck forgiveness. Fuck your feelings. Fuck your sources.
Yeah, so in this track, he's talking about the struggles of being a black man in America. Coming from nothing and coming from his ancestors picking cotton to make America rich, and then having to grow up in these in the slums or in these ghettos, and then having to grind so hard to get basic things that most people already have when they're born with them, and then talking about the government trying to distract black people through sex, through divorce courts, through abortions, through, you know, just all these different things to try and keep black people down. And in this case, more specifically, black men, you know, with child support checks and with a bunch of stuff, just never letting them really go anywhere in life and keeping them down, you know? It's a really interesting track, and in my opinion, it's probably one of the most amazing tracks, not subject matter-wise, but just in the fact that he was able to rap on this beat. I mean, this instrumental is just so jazzy, and it's so all over the place, and there's not really a structured 1, 2, 3, and 4 beat for you to flow on. So when I first heard this, I was like, how is he gonna find a way to rap on this thing? But he did. And technically, you know, like songwriting-wise, flow-wise, is just one of the more impressive tracks off of this project, in my opinion. The instrumentals on this are absolutely insane. The keys go insane. The standing bass is great. The drums are all over the place. It's just a really interesting song to listen to, man. Next track is King Kunta.
I don't want you monkey mouth motherfucker sitting in my throne again.
A really funky bass line again.
Black man taking no loss. Oh yeah. Bitch, where you and I was walking. Now I run the game. You can smell it when I'm walking down the street.
Oh yes we can, oh yes we can.
I can dig rapping to y'all sharing bars like you got the bottom bunk in a 2-man safe.
Man.
They should have said elementary. I probably go to jail if I shoot at your identity and bounce to the left. Stuck a whoa. Oh yeah, fuck the judge. I made it past 25 and now I won.
The scratching, the guitar, so nice. This track has got a lot going on, right? So it sounds like in the chorus when he says, "Where are you when I was walking? Now I run the game, got the whole world talking." He's basically talking to people who would want to be his friend now just because he's successful, you know. But he also talks about the dangers of success, which is the yam. The yam brought it out of Richard Pryor, manipulated Bill Clinton with the desires, you know. Having that success, having that spotlight on you all the time can bring the worst out of you. You know, it can make you greedy, it can make you prideful, it can make you all these many different things. And he feels like success and fame is something that the United States uses to manipulate people, to really manipulate them into conforming into being what the country wants them to be, and to acting a certain way, and to paying a certain amount of taxes, and to doing all these different things that regular people don't really have to worry about. And so he's just talking about kind of like the dangers of, you know, success. You know, he says, "Now I run the game, got the whole world walking. King Kunta, everybody wants to cut the legs off him like Kunta Kinte." And so he's saying, now that I'm at this point, now that I run the game, everybody wants to cut my legs off. You know, so it's like problems that he's dealing with now he didn't necessarily have to deal with when he was poorer and when he didn't have all this success and all this spotlight and this fame. And so I just feel like it's a really interesting track. The funk and the production of this is also really great. So, you know, that was just, it's another really interesting topic to be talking about.
Up inside the ghetto and I ain't proud to admit it. Institutionalized, I keep running back for a visit. Hold up, Bill, kill me.
Yeah, you could take him out the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of him, is what he's saying.
Bulletproof my Chevy doors, lay in the White House again.
Food is great.
I tell you my hypothesis, but something came over you once I took you to the fucking BET Awards. Took this on me to the show, but this is what they said. Am I supposed to do what I'm looking at? Walking like gold bottles, skipping up the ass for Instagram.
So in this track, he's talking about how even though he's got all this money, all this fame, he still finds it tough to take the ghetto out of him. You know, he came out of the ghetto, but he can't get that ghetto out of him. Those thoughts, you know, what am I supposed to do when all I see is walking licks? They talk about mansions and whips and having tons of money, but all I'm thinking about is robbing everybody in the place. You know, and I can't help but feel like I'm supposed to be acting the way that I used to, only now I'm, you know, in this new position in life where I'm supposed to change everything about who I am, but he can't because he's been institutionalized basically by Compton. You know, it's a really, he paints this image for us very clearly, you know, in the song. When you listen to what he's saying, you can visualize the whole scene that's going on and the struggles that's going on inside of him. It's a tough track, you know, it's gotta be tough to be in that position.
But your flood can be misunderstood. What? Every look you credit, I mean it's still amazing. Before they couldn't stand me. These was when the criteria, the same old song about how they was always the cleanest. I been would afford them. That's it, it's so important. Was telling you to listen to sing about me.
A whole lot of imagery and symbolism in this song. Basically, the walls could be the walls of a vagina. They could be the walls of a prison cell. They could be the walls of his consciousness, his mind, having a heavy conscience because of the fact that he is having sex with this girl whose boyfriend or husband or whatever is serving life in prison because he killed one of Kendrick's friends. And so Kendrick's like getting revenge by having sex with this woman, but at the same time he feels bad about using his power and influence to get her and seduce her that way. It's just so many different things going on. It's a very funky, groovy song to listen to on the surface level, but when you look in the lyricism and you dig deeper and deeper, I mean, I've still got to listen to this 100 more times to catch everything, you know? But that's really like a kind of surface level explanation of this song and what the walls could actually mean. But you know, I would really appreciate a lot of you guys' different opinions on this track specifically, because like I said, there's so much going on and so much symbolism and imagery that, you know, having a lot of people to dissect this with would really help. But you know, those are my opinions on this, is that the walls symbolize those three different things, and in that situation that he is currently in. And it's brilliant the way that he wrote it, because there are so many different interpretations to it. Next track is You.
A baby inside, just a teenager. Where your patience? What was your antennas? What was the world don't need you? Don't let them deceive you. Now much like do, fuck your pride do. That's what dedication to me. Yes, I hate you. Don't mean it. I know you irresponsible, selfish. You denial can't help in your trials.
That little horn is so soulful.
What was your support that you put reasons, nigga? I know you and a couple black boys ain't been speaking, nigga.
So this track, You, is absolutely the complete opposite to the track I later on. And in I, he talks about how much he loves himself and finding out how to love himself and how to better his life and the lives of people around him, starting with that self-love. And You is him talking to himself about how hard he is to love and all the reasons that he feels guilty and all the reasons that he believes he's a failure and all the guilt that he feels for leaving Compton behind and leaving a bunch of his friends behind. And, you know, now his friends are getting shot. Now he's lost a couple people that he loves while he's been out, you know, in his fame and you know, living a wealthy lifestyle now, and just that guilt and that weight that he feels on his shoulders. And we see him crying, and we see him drinking, and we see him talk about his depression, and we see him get into like the darkest parts of his mind on this track, which is why it's so tough to listen to, and musically it's not as appealing, but it's absolutely a beautiful artistic track that is perfectly executed in its imagery, in its lyricism, in its production, you know, in the sound effects of the bottle, you know, it's all perfect. The little horn and the little bounciness to the beat that kind of sounds like it's swaying back and forth when he's drunk, actually sets that disorienting, dizzy, drunk vibe to the track. It's really great, man. Artistically, this track is absolutely perfect, and there's just it's absolutely insane to hear him perform this track, you know, and to hear him actually on this track and talk about how bad he feels and be so honest. It's just really, really incredible. It's amazing. Next track is All Right. Yo, Pharrell went off on this beat, man. The drum pattern, bro.
And let me tell you about my life. Painkillers only put me in the twilight.
That little open hi-hat.
I think I'm going crazy. Trying to side my face is all day. The world like, where do we go? Nigga, and we hate ho-ho. Wanna kill us?
This flow is crazy. So in this one, it's basically a message of hope to all black people. You know, we've been down before, and we hate the popo because they want to kill us in the streets. And through all the struggles that they're going through, as long as God's got them, they're going to be all right, you know. And this is just a really feel-good track. It's got a great beat to it. Pharrell did an absolutely phenomenal job producing this. The horns are great. The little vocal chops are awesome. You know, the keys are so smooth. I mean, you can barely notice them, but there is a little Rhodes piano going on during the verses, during the hooks. It's got like a slight bell sound to him. It's really beautiful. The drum pattern is very unique. It's got a really great bounce to it. Kendrick Lamar's delivery on this is just so energetic. It's so fun. I feel like the video to this thing is just so hype. You know, it's one of the best tracks in terms of how replayable it is, you know, and how radio friendly it is, and how catchy it is, and all of that. It's a really great track. You know, it's not one of the deeper songs on the project, but it's definitely one of the more fun songs to listen to for sure.
Lucy Kendrick, you introduced me, Kendrick. Usually I don't do this, but I see you on me, Kendrick. Lucy just wants your trust and loyalty. Avoiding me, it's not so easy. I met the
So this track gives us a little more insight into Lucy, or Lucifer, who is in this case the devil, who is in this case the greed, the money, the fame, the one who gets him to sign the paperwork and to get him to, you know, chase this lavish, extravagant lifestyle and forget about, you know, Compton and the place where he came from. It's the Lucy that surrounds him with evil all around him. It's the Lucy that draws him into depression. It's the Lucy that makes him hate himself, you know, but he is just so hell-bent, pun intended, on getting fame and money and all of that he gives in to Lucy. He signs the contracts, you know, he basically signs his soul away to the industry, to the money, to the fame, to, you know, all of this, and to the greed, because of all these promises that Lucifer makes him. And you know, he says, Lucy gon' call you even when Lucy know you love your father. So he's God-fearing. He talks about the prayers that were on Good Kid, Mad City. But he says, I know that at the end of the day, you'll still pursue me. Why? Because he's hungry for the fame. He's hungry for the money. He wants to be successful. He wants to get out of the ghetto. He wants to be a better, to live a better lifestyle. And, you know, Lucy is attracting him with all of these different shiny things, basically, you know. And it's, again, incredible imagery, insane symbolism. It's a crazy metaphor that he uses. It's executed really well. The instrumentals are really jazzy. They're really lo-fi. You know, there's got a lot of little bell sounds and little spaceship-like sounds, you know, little sound effects going on. It's really cool. It's really great. I like it. It's a cool interlude, you know. Next track is Mama. Oh, that bass.
radio's nemesis may be whack. My innocence limited, the experience lacked.
The layered snare is so awesome.
The stadium packet the fastest. Gambling Benjamin, I would say it got me a pack, but what's better than that? The fact it brought me back home. The way I'm rewarded, well, that's God's decision. I know you know the lines for Compton School District. Destiny, hope for rest in peace.
I love the samples.
Tell your homies especially to come back.
So in this track, we see Kendrick kind of teaching us the lessons that he learned from dealing with and fighting against and overcoming some of the struggles that he faced with all the temptation around him that Lucifer was offering him, you know, and all those battles that he had with Lucifer, and the battles that he had with struggling with fame and with success and with learning how to be a celebrity and be in the public eye and to be in the spotlight and how to behave and learning all of that. He's kind of teaching us some of the lessons that he learned here over a very smooth, very soulful beat. It's over a beat that is extremely warm and full, and it almost feels like honey, you know, when you listen to it. That bass line is so great. The very cool layered snare is absolutely fantastic. I love the keys, you know, everything about this just feels comfortable and homey and, you know, and cozy. It's a really cool sounding song, man.
I've been A1 since day one, you niggas boo-boo. Your own boy, you block that you from, boo-boo. I don't give a fuck about no politics and rap, my nigga.
The vocal inflection to symbolize his immaturity is so awesome.
Stick it to the script, now if the Benjamins go cuddle up, skip, hop, flip.
I love this song. It's got such a cool West Coast vibe, you know?
These niggas a little gang in town. From Compton to Congress. Black, all white and whole black. Critics wanna mention that they missed when hip-hop was rapping. Motherfucker.
What's really cool about this track to me is the fact that he's giving us a point of view from himself, but as a younger version of himself. His vocals are higher pitched to symbolize his immaturity and how younger he was and how inexperienced he was, which is why this has more of an aggressive feel to it, which is why this has more of a less mature feel to it. You know, he talks about things that somebody with little life experience or with little maturity or with little wisdom would talk about, you know, and it's really cool to see that contrast in this track with the other tracks from when he's older and he's overcome the struggles with Lucifer, and when he's overcome his greed and his pride and the passions and the lust and the spotlights and the money and the, you know, all that. It's really cool to see that contrast, and I feel like that's why he put this on here, is to show us the difference from when he was in the ghetto to when he got out, to when he got that maturity to come back a wiser man and to better the neighborhood and to give back to where he came from. It's just so cool to see the change in maturity, even though he was... It's not like he wrote this when he was younger and then he wrote the other songs when he was older. He wrote this all at the same time. So the fact that he was able to show that in his writing and his delivery especially is really cool about this track. This has got a really bouncy, old school West Coast feel. You know, his delivery is so aggressive. His flow is so great on this track. The hook is incredibly catchy and contagious. I love it. I really like it. Next track is How Much a Dollar Cost.
The question is detrimental, paralyzed in my thoughts, parasites in my stomach, keep me wounded, gut feeling, y'all. This African only spoke slowly, my American tongue was slurry. Walked out the gas station, a homeless man with a 710, I couldn't see it. He said, my son, temptation is one thing that I've defeated. Listen to me, I won't get mediocre. The triggers up, I see you from a mile away, losing focus. And I'm just how much a dollar costs. The price of happiness by me having emotion lost, I am God.
So the storytelling and the imagery in this track is really great, right? He's walking out of a gas station, sees this homeless man on the ground who's asking him for $1. And, you know, Kendrick just pulled up to this gas station in a really expensive car. I mean, he's got money, he's got riches, he's got wealth, he's got fame, he's got the spotlight, he's got greed, he's got, you know, everything that a man could want. And he refuses to give this homeless man a single dollar because of his greed. And we see this man kind of berating him throughout the track and showing him, you know, how greedy he's being and how wrong that is what he's doing. And at the end, the homeless man reveals himself to be God. And he says, you know what, because of your greed, that dollar just cost you your place in heaven. So he's really showing us how dangerous greed can really be and how dangerous the love and the passion for money can really be. A lot of people say that money is the root of all evil, but that's not at all what the verse is. The verse is actually the love of money is the root of all evil. You can have money and still be humble. You can have money and still be generous. You don't have to be greedy just because you're rich. And this is what he's kind of showcasing here, is if he were rich but generous, he could have saved himself. He could have kept his spot in heaven. But because he has that love for money, that's what made him lose his spot in heaven. And that's how much that dollar meant to him. It's really great, you know, it's a really great story. The instrumentals aren't all that, you know, it's got a really cool wavy vibe to it. The horns are cool, the keys are cool, but for the most part it's really simple. You know, it's just kind of like background noise, background music, just to showcase what he's actually saying. It's his lyrics that are the main focus of this track.
It's the midnight hour, right? It's the morning sun. Give a fuck about your complexion. I know what the German's done. Is he about to mention complexion?
Hey.
I used to be so mistaken by different shades and faces that went told me your woman is woman.
The switch up for Rhapsody's verse is so dope.
12 years a slave, 12 years of elders ain't talking whoop. Need a paradox for the paradox, they tutor.
So this track is all about colorism and embracing and loving people and the creation instead of loving the color of their skin, because complexion doesn't mean a thing. And it's really fitting that after this track comes The Blacker the Berry, you know. So we see different sections to this project talking about different things, and this is a really beautiful track. I love the message. I love the absolutely wavy, awesome production to it. The first half is really groovy and funky. The second half's got a really cool bounce to it, you know, when Rhapsody's verse comes in. I really like that beat switch. It's a really cool track, man, but I don't think that the message goes too deep beyond the complexion. If it does, let me know in the comments section. But yeah, like I said, next track is The Blacker the Berry. This is one of my favorite tracks on the project. It's absolutely so aggressive. I love this beat. I think it's so hard.
This hypocrite in 2015. Once I finish this witness is what conveys what I mean. The filler is nappy, my dick is big, my nose is round and wide. You hate me, don't you? You hate my people, your plan is to...
This is insane.
Be special, cat scans on my radar. Bitch, how can I help you? How can I tell you I'm making a killing? Fill up my tank, they fill out. Muscle cars like pull up. Show you what these big wheels are.
Yo, the synths, the horns, the strings, that's all so awesome. So what I think this track is about is not just racism from white people towards black people or from other races towards black people, but it's also about internalized black hatred of themselves. It's about black on black crime. It's about, you know, the black person receiving all this hate from around them, that it makes them hate themselves, that it makes them hate their own color, it makes them hate their own race, you know. And he says the last two lines, why did I cry when Trayvon Martin was killed? When gangbanging makes me kill someone who's blacker than I am, I'm a hypocrite. You know, it's talking about the self-hatred in the black communities along with the racism from other people towards black communities and black people. This is a really eye-opening song. It is absolutely insanely well executed. It is tough to listen to because it is so honest and sincere, and you can hear the frustration in his delivery and in his voice, and you can see how passionate he feels about this and how badly he wants this to change. And it's a really great track. It's a track that makes you think. It's so aggressive. It's such a hard song. You know, I really love everything about this track. The next song is You Ain't Gotta Lie.
Press me, it's all in your head, no. Like so when the blood gets you, you ain't gotta lie, you ain't gotta lie, you ain't gotta lie to kick it, my nigga. Complex, underdog, complex.
The loudest one in the room, nigga, that's a complex.
I'm there, are you the truth? You love to me, in the back, in the bed, on the floor, that's your home, on the couch, you gotta lie.
I love the vocoder. It's so smooth. So this one sounds like he's talking to people who lie just to fit in, you know, people who try to act like people who they really aren't, to try and appeal to Kendrick or to be allowed into his inner circle by being fake, by being somebody that they're not really. And he's saying, you ain't gotta lie to be around me. You don't have to pretend, because all it does is just upset me, you know? And that's what I feel like this track is about. I don't really know how much deeper than that it goes, to be honest. If it is, it's going over my head. You guys could let me know in the comment section, but I think that that's really, you know, just really simple. You don't have to pretend to be somebody that you're not to be accepted in my social circle. That's basically what this is trying to say. But I do love the vibe to it. It's so smooth. It's so groovy. It's really fun to just listen to and vibe out to. So that's what I think about that track. I'm sure there's more that I'm missing. You know, I'm absolutely certain. So just let me know in the comment section. But the next track is I. Yo, I love this vibe. I could just imagine him like on top of a car surrounded by people performing this.
More for me and my skies, everybody lack confident. Everybody lack confident. How many times I'm potential? My pops gave me some game in real person. Retrace my steps on what they never taught me. N-E-G-U-S. Definition, royalty.
So this track is absolutely one of the most positive tracks on this project. It's probably one, I think it was the first single that he released. It's all about preaching self-love. It's all about being comfortable with who you are and learning to love yourself and being positive about yourself. And he finishes it off with a freestyle where he talks about the origin of the word negus and how it means royalty and how it means king, and how that applies to him, and kind of changing the word that has been used to oppress him and black people for so long. And it's all about self-love. It's so positive. The vibe is just so fun. You know, it's like a huge party. Like I said, I could imagine him like on top of a car surrounded by people just performing this and everybody just going crazy. I love the production on this. I love the guitar. The guitar player on this absolutely shreds. You know, this is a great track.
Let these words be your earth and moon. You consume every message. That's out of time. Like who got your best interest? Like how much are you dependent? How clutch other people that say they love.
Found myself screaming in the hotel room. The evils of Lucy was all around me. That didn't stop survivor's guilt.
Good things come to those that stay true.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it was happening to me for a reason.
So throughout this entire project, Kendrick Lamar has emphasized his humanity and the struggles that he goes through as he learns to deal with fame, as he learns to deal with having money, and he learns to deal with greed and lust and all these things. And he kind of emphasizes the fact that he fails and he is a human and he makes mistakes. And basically this is just asking, when it all hits the fan, are you still a fan? Are you still going to support him? Are you still going to ride for him? Despite the fact that he can screw up sometimes, as every human does, you know. And then it ends with some spoken word, the poetry, the poem that he has been reciting throughout this entire project, which basically gives the the theme of the project, or the subject of the project, you know, which is him growing as a man and learning to deal with survivor's guilt, learning to not blame himself for everything that goes on in the community that he grew up in, and just working to do his best to give back to it. And you know, it ends with the interview between him and Tupac Shakur, which is also really dope and really touching. And it's a 12-minute long song. It's got so much to talk about, so much going on. You can spend just hours breaking down the interview portion of this song alone, you know, so it's a lot to talk about, but basically it's talking about how certain visions, like Tupac's visions and Kendrick's visions, are similar, and how giving back to the community is so important, and dealing with all these similar things, you know, that Tupac went through when he was, you know, on the rise to fame and all this. It's a really great track. It's really eye-opening, it's really beautiful, and it makes you think, it makes you ponder, it makes you understand him on a human level, because a lot of times we tend to idolize celebrities and see them almost as not even human, you know, they're just these superstars who can do no wrong, and he really makes us empathize with him and with the things that he's going through in this track. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It is a fantastic way to end this project off. So let's talk about this project now, man. This project is absolutely top 2 in the decade, and every time I listen to it, it only further reinforces that idea. This project talks about loving yourself, dealing with survivor's guilt, hating yourself. It talks about colorism, it talks about relationships, it talks about greed, it talks about lust, it talks about revenge, it talks about maturity, it talks about coming from the ghetto and learning to become a man, it talks about giving back, it talks about being generous, it talks about so many different things. I mean, if you could take so many lessons from this project, it is absolutely insane. You know, the wisdom that Kendrick Lamar dropped with this project, the level of artistry that he made, that he dropped with this project. The production on this is absolutely amazing. It's incredible. It's got so many groovy styles, so jazzy, so funky, it's so groovy. It pays homage to the great black entertainers who came before him, who developed and perfected those styles of music, really. We would have no blues without black people. We wouldn't have hip-hop without black people. We wouldn't have rock music without black people. We wouldn't have jazz, really, without black people. You know, they made these styles popular, and I feel like this entire project is such an incredible tribute to those amazing artists, production-wise. You know, there's just so many cool things going on throughout this entire project. It really is beautiful. It really is eye-opening. It really is an album that will make you cry. It will make you laugh. It will lift you up. It will bring you down. It will make you think. It will teach you. You will learn something new with every listen. It is an amazing body of work, you know, and I am really glad that I was finally able to give this album this listen and to make this video for you guys. I personally think I did an okay job at trying to break this down as best as I could, at opening maybe some of your eyes as to some different details, not only in the production, but in the messages and in the imagery and in the symbolism that is in this project. But like I said, there's so much going on that I would really need you guys' help in the comments section to break down further this incredible project. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much to everybody who stuck through it to the end. And if you're enjoying the content that I'm making on this channel, consider supporting the channel by following me on my social media or subscribing to the channel, or the best way that you could support this channel and to help me to continue making this content would be to become a patron on Patreon, because the patrons are absolutely the main reason that I'm able to keep doing this at the level that I'm doing this. You know, my videos get copyrighted left and right, and I've been going through a few days now where a bunch of videos just got claimed, and you know, the support financially from the patrons is just absolutely amazing and helps me to do this. So if you would like to support on there, I would really appreciate it. But thank you all so much to everybody who watched this anyways, and thank you all so much to everybody who's been subscribing and supporting the channel and showing love in the comments section. I couldn't do this without you guys. So with that being said, I'm going to be back in another video very soon. I know so many albums dropped. We've got Daniel Caesar, we've got, you know, I don't even know, so many guys, so many people dropped. So we've got content coming up. Lots of cool stuff to do soon. So I'll see you guys. Until then, stay safe out there. Peace.